My name is Crash Calhoun. And I'm watching the RO Sports Show.
Good evening and welcome to the latest installment of the RO Sports Show, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. That was our one of our favorite guys here at the RO Sports Show, Crash Calhoun, giving us a body slamming shout out. Of course, Crash, part of the Sand Hills Wrestling Alliance, who actually had a comeback show this past week, and you can catch that broadcast from myself, Matt Harrelson, and Russell Parker doing commentary this Saturday at 8 p.m. across all of the Richmond Observer's platform, the YouTube page, Facebook page, the RO app, the RO website, and if you want to listen to it, you can do that on the Classic Rock Radio. And of course, not to be forgotten here, Jeremy McKenzie in the middle joining us this week as well. So of course, keep that in mind this Saturday. Now, I said before we ended last week's show that we were going to be smack dab in the middle of the NBA playoffs first round, and that's exactly where we find ourselves this week. So guys, let's jump right into it. Just a couple of matchups I wanted to touch on real quick. Number one seed in the East, Toronto, is already up 2-0 over Washington. Boston is up 2-0 over Milwaukee. The New Orleans Pelicans are up 2-0 over Portland. Golden State's up 2-0 over San Antonio. And the 76ers and Miami are tied up at 1. Now, let's start first of all with the Raptors-Wizards matchup. As I just said, the Raptors are up 2-0. They're the number one seed. Are the Wizards done already?
I believe they are, because if you look at the energy and the effectiveness that Toronto's having with DeMar DeRozan, even they playing at a high level and they playing with a lot of confidence right now, I think what the narrative is I don't see Washington can match that expertise, because you're looking at John Wall just coming back from injury, and then look at Bradley Beal, Marcin Gortat. They pretty much doing what they can, but I think they don't have that firepower to beat Toronto, like a team that's very fast, up tempo, and I think it's going to be a sweep.
They just don't have the horses, right?
Yeah, yes.
What do you think? Are they done already?
I think they're already done too. I believe that they're just not that well of a team, and I don't think they're going to get it done.
Yeah, they kind of the Wizards kind of backed into the 8th spot in the East, so unfortunately they're trending downwards. And I agree with you. I can absolutely see this ended up being a sweep. Now, as I mentioned, also Boston Celtics are up 2-0 over Milwaukee. Now, this one surprised me. May have surprised you guys. You know, Kyrie Irving's not there, so I mean, what's going on here? Is Milwaukee going to have to come back? I mean, can Boston keep this up?
I think Boston could keep this up. The playing at a high level, even with Kyrie Irving's out for it's a period of time. You got Al Horford there, who pretty much doing what he can do, crashing the boards and putting up points on the board. But and Boston's getting a lot of help from their bench, and the bench is being productive as well.
Let me ask you this, Russell. Of course, Milwaukee's best player is Giannis Antetokounmpo, the freak Greek, who is one of the top, in my opinion, one of the top 10 NBA players in the league. So, is there a chance they could come back?
That might be a possibility. Of course, anything can happen. But when you lose one player off of a team, that can, and especially with the NBA, with so few players on a team to play out there, I can see it hurting them a lot. But they shouldn't let that get underneath their skin and go out there and still play as a team.
Right, and I'm not going to make a prediction on this one. I really do think, though, that Milwaukee will eventually probably tie this up, or at least make it competitive because of Antetokounmpo. And of course, these games were won in Boston, so they still have to go back to Milwaukee, and that's where I could see the Bucks picking up a couple games. Now, Damian Lillard is on the Portland Trail Blazers, and he's another big-time guy in the NBA, but his team's also down 2-0 to the Pelicans. Can the Blazers make a comeback, or are they done?
I believe they're truly done, because even if Damian Lillard is putting up 30 points a night, just saying, even to the effectiveness, you got Rondo and you got Anthony Davis doing their thing, I just don't see Portland making a comeback against New Orleans.
What about you, Russell? Is the Unibrow in New Orleans, they get it done?
Nah, I don't think they can get it done.
So what are you thinking? Maybe it'll go
They
6
might
or
get
7,
a win.
maybe?
Yeah, they might get a win or two here and there, but I don't think they're going to get it all the way done.
All right. And then the other one that's 2 up is Golden State over your San Antonio Spurs, up 2-0. Now, I wanted to get this out there because I thought it was a catchy saying that I came up with, and I put no Kawhi, no Kawhi, meaning that Kawhi Leonard's not doesn't seem like he's going to be playing in this series. So, in my opinion, the Spurs are done. But what do you think, Jeremy?
Well,
What do you honestly think?
I think honestly say I've been a San Antonio Spurs fan since 1999. I think the narrative is right now Kawhi Leonard's out for an X period of time, and I think we're pretty much done because of advanced age. And even though we have the experience and the championship experience, I think we just can't match with the up tempo. These guys are young, fast, and the energy is up level and rising. We just don't have that competitiveness anymore. But I think this is going to be a stepping stone for San Antonio to pretty much to go back to the drawing board and say we need to get younger and pretty much need to be competitive because we still are one of the elite teams in this Western Conference. But I think when push comes to shove in this series, I think Golden State pretty much going to sweep us.
And Kawhi Leonard is actually going to be a free agent after this year, so the Spurs could look completely different. Of course, Aldridge, you don't know what's going to happen with him.
And because Paul Gasol, and then you got to look at Ginobili probably more in retirement.
It's an older team. You're absolutely right. Now, Seth Curry has actually been injured a few games here. Does that affect them at all, or is San Antonio a sweep?
I don't think San Antonio's going to get out of it. I mean, Golden State is a golden team, or the golden team in the Western Conference, in my opinion. So I can see them easily getting out of this first round, maybe even the second round, and go all the way. So
you better hope so, because you had them as one of your picks, and we'll get to that here in just a second. But then the last matchup I want to touch on is the one that's tied up 1-1. That's the Philly 76ers with the Miami Heat. Now this one, I've got the 76ers winning it because I've got them making it to the Eastern Championship. But what do you guys think? How is this going to play out?
Well, we're looking at this team. Look at two teams in the Eastern Conference. Philly, pretty much with Joe MD being hurt right now, but Ben Simmons playing at a very high level. And I see a couple of games with JJ Redick coming up, making good 3-pointers off the bench. And Philly is going to be a surprise team that a lot of people better watch out for because we're looking at the 76ers coming back to the playoffs in a good long while, and performing was so well that even with Miami he has the experience and had so used to winning. And I'm proud of Dwayne Wade and Whiteside for holding their own, but I think Philly going to pull the series out.
And I read a stat last week when we were talking about Ben Simmons, but this is the Sixers' best season since 2000-2001 when AI was there. Does this one go the distance, Russell?
I mean, it might be their best season, but it's not going to be a great win. In perspective to everybody else, I don't see them getting through it. Okay.
Now, as I mentioned a second ago, we made picks last week, and I'm going to get yours here in just a second. But, Russell, you had, for what would be the fourth year in a row, the Golden State Warriors taking on the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I think you had the Cavs winning it all, correct?
I did have that, but no longer do I do it. I think Golden State might be able to pull it out now.
Okay, but same matchup, just Golden State winning it all. And then I'll say mine. I had the Sixers playing the Houston Rockets, and I've got the Rockets being victorious. I'm going to stick with that. So, Jeremy, who are your picks? Or you give me the stink eye over there.
Nobody give you the people's eye, bro. We come looking at the Western Conference Final, very competitive, very strong. But I can see this coming down to Golden State versus Cleveland, 4.
All right, who you going to take?
I think this year, this is going to be LeBron's year. Win, and it's going to be a Game 7 series, 4-3.
All right. So you got to go in the distance. And usually when those two teams match up, you're usually going to see a Game 7. I don't think there's any doubt about that. Now, again, next week we're going to continue coverage with the NBA playoffs as we get closer and closer to the Eastern and Western Conference Championships and then, of course, the NBA Finals. But moving on, some more NBA talk, of course. The Charlotte Hornets fired their head coach, Steve Clifford, this past Friday. It actually ended a 5-year run that included 2 trips to the playoffs. Of course, the last 2 years, the Hornets have finished 36-46, missing out on the playoffs, of course. His overall record is 196-214 in the regular season. Now, I do want to say this. They fired him. There's also some other openings in the NBA that include the Magic, the New York Knicks, the Phoenix Suns, the Bucks, and the Memphis Grizzlies. So he's probably going to have some options. But do you think this was a good idea to get rid of him?
I believe this is a good idea for Charlotte Hornets to go in this direction because I think it start new fresh because you already got Mitch Kupchak as your GM. And I'm pretty sure because of his experience and how the championships he has won in the past with the Lakers, I think the narrative is I think they're going to start going after a veteran coach who knows the game, how to win, and can build around with Kemba Walker and Dwight Howard. I would love to see a coach like a coach haven't been out haven't been coaching in a while, like an Avery Johnson type of guy or pretty much a I would love to see Jason Kidd back in coaching.
Yeah, and you're not the only one. Of course, Avery Johnson's a little busy down in Alabama coaching their basketball team right now. But like you said, they've got Rich Cho got fired, so they got Mitch Kupchak coming in as new GM. We're going to have a new coach. Is this the right direction?
Well, I think it was last week or before I said something about they need to get rid of everyone and start fresh. That also includes the staff, as well as the players. I need to just figure out something here and start from scratch, build up on something new. Like, I guess a new Hornet Empire, if you will, see if they could start something like that. I don't know, but it's always worth a shot to try it over. The Cleveland Browns are trying to do that over in football, so I think it could work over here as well.
And you and I are in the same boat. I mean, I've said the same thing. Maybe now, especially with a new GM, a new coach, it's time to just scrap it and start over. Now, of course, because Clifford's fired, that means somebody's got to take over the Hornets coaching job. And I found this name interesting because of the Tar Heel alliance here. Of course, Michael Jordan being the owner of the Hornets is Jerry Stackhouse, former NBA All-Star, of course, former Tar Heel. He is actually currently the head coach of Raptors 905, which is Toronto's G League affiliate. So he does have some coaching experience. Do you potentially? Is this a good fit for the Hornets if it happens?
No.
All right, why not?
Because I believe you look at Jerry Stackhouse.
Yeah.
I remember when Jerry Stackhouse was playing for Dallas, Atlanta, and probably almost by half the NBA of his career. But we're looking at a guy who pretty much a rookie head coach the D-League. This is a D-League team in which we had a lot of successful first-year coaches had done well in their respective places. But even though he's a former Tar Heel, but I look at this. If you want to win right now or look at the talent around you, I think you could go for a veteran to pretty much come in and try to at least get some things going and see how well you can pretty much, where your leadership is and where your talent is. Because really, if you look at your rosters, you got Kemba Walker and Dwight Howard you can build around on, and then pretty much from the draft and build your team throughout. Not only the draft, but free agency, and you need to cut a lot of these contracts out. That don't mean no good.
So you're saying the Hornets, the opposite of us, you're saying the Hornets should continue with what they're doing now as opposed to blowing it up. Is that kind of the direction you think they should go?
Well, not far as to not blow it up. I think if you want to continue to have that winning tradition, or at least try to get some direction going, and I truly believe that Mitch Kupchak, by him being the GM, now I think he'll start looking around for coaches.
Now, what do you think, Russell? Is a rookie head coach the way to go, or should they do like he says and go for a veteran guy?
Yeah, they need to find somebody who's got that experience. Starting from scratch, you need to find these guys who already know what they're doing, kind of already established. So I think that's going to work. I mean, it might work out. He might be a better coach than he is a player, so who knows? But I don't know if that's how it goes, I guess.
I'm actually okay with this, and it actually has nothing to do with him being a former Tar Heel, because I'm okay with the hiring a rookie coach aspect of it, because the greatest coach is Greg Popovich. He had to have a break somewhere along the line, and I think that where the Hornets are right now, finishing 36 and 46 over the last couple of years, maybe you send in a young guy who's got some fresh ideas, some new things he wants to try, as opposed to maybe you get a veteran coach where things are the status quo and everybody conforms around that. So, but again, hopefully we'll get an answer as to whether it's Stackhouse or whether it's somebody else that'll be taking over the Charlotte Hornets next season. We're going to take our first commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking NFL draft. Of course, the draft coming up very soon, and also some extra NFL news. Of course, Dez Bryant in the headlines. We'll see how Cowboy fans feel about that. So all that and more when we come right back from the RO Sports Show.
Rockingham Farm Supply in downtown Rockingham, at the corner of 220 and Green Street's a great place to stop by and have some fellowship and fun. Pick up your dog food, seed, even chicks for your farm, a little bit of everything, and a great selection of zero-turn lawnmowers and other lawn care products. Stop by and visit the local family-friendly atmosphere at Rockingham Farm Supply. Again, that's Rockingham Farm Supply, at the corner of 220 and Green Street in downtown Rockingham.
At Richmond Community College, we can prepare you for a high-skill, high-paying career in a variety of fields. From business to education, engineering, utilities, healthcare, criminal justice, information technology, and human services. At Richmond Community College, we can save you thousands of dollars on tuition through our university transfer programs that provide a seamless transition to universities and colleges throughout North Carolina. At Richmond Community College, we are always developing new courses and programs in response to the communities we serve. We offer day, evening, and online courses, and you can now complete 5 curriculum programs entirely online. At Richmond Community College, we believe in helping you prepare for a better life. Richmond Community College. Local college, big impact.
Exit Realty Platinum in Rockingham has listed one of the most beautiful homes in Richmond County. Located in Rockingham on Ledbetter Lake, the home features 4 bedrooms with bamboo floors and a kitchen featuring stainless steel appliances and granite countertops, and a master bedroom that overlooks Ledbetter Lake, along with a spacious tile shower and the attached master bathroom. The open living space leads to the back deck with a perfect view of Ledbetter Lake, and the property features its own boat dock. Want to see this beautiful home? Call Nicole Hayden with Exit Realty Platinum, your source for homes in Richmond and Moore counties.
My name is Jim Leach, and we have been using the Tim Hayden Construction Company for the last several years.
My name is Dave Owens and my wife Beth. We had some damage here at our place in Knollwood Village.
January 2nd, our house flooded upstairs coming through to the first floor.
Tim has responded very quickly with his team of people.
Our repairs went extremely well.
Tim made a very difficult situation much easier for us.
And welcome back to the RO Sports Show, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. Time to talk NFL draft, guys. It's right around the corner, coming up soon, and I just want to read off the top 10 teams that have the top 10 draft picks, and then we're going to jump right into it. First of all, the Cleveland Browns have the first overall pick, followed by the New York Giants at 2, the New York Jets at 3. They got that one from the Colts. The Cleveland Browns again at 4 that they got back from the Houston Texans. Denver Broncos at 5, Colts at 6 in that Jet-Colts sweep there. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at 7, Chicago Bears at 8, 49ers of San Francisco at 9, and the Oakland Raiders coming in at 10. Now, I also want to add in there for people that are Redskins fans, they're in at 13. Cowboys fans can find their draft pick coming up at 19. And, of course, Carolina Panthers will be picking towards the end at 24. Now, I asked you guys before we started tonight's show to give me who you think are going to be your top 5 draft picks. So that would be the Browns, Giants, Jets, Browns again, and the Broncos. Russell, let's start with you. Who's your top 5?
Well, my number 1 overall draft pick will be Baker Mayfield going to the Browns. I think they're going to pick up a quarterback, and that could be a number of them. I think it will be Baker Mayfield, a Heisman Trophy winner. He's got a lot of great stats towards him, played in the playoffs, a lot of good stats around there. So, number 2 for the Giants, I got Josh Allen, Jets, Sam Darnold, and then Bradley Chubb for the Browns. And then I'm going to throw in Minkah Fitzpatrick going to the Broncos.
All right, I want to get one of your Bama boys in there.
Yeah, roll tide.
All right, what do you think, Jeremy? Who's your top 5 for the draft?
All right, I like to do this in Commissioner Roger Goodell style with the first overall pick in the 2018 NFL Draft. The Cleveland Browns draft Saquon Barkley, running back, Penn State, at number 1. Then for the New York Giants at the number 2 will be quarterback Sam Darnold from University of Southern California. New York Jets at number 3 will pick Baker Mayfield at the University of Oklahoma. Cleveland will come back again and will draft defensive end Bradley Chubb from the Wolfpack, North Carolina State. And then Denver will come and will draft offensive guard Quentin Nelson from the University of Notre Dame.
That's a good pick. That's a good pick. A lot of, excuse me, a lot of times offensive linemen don't get the fame and glory like a lot of the skill positions do. So that's a good pick there. As far as my top 5 for the Browns, I've got Wyoming quarterback Josh Allen going number 1. Now, Tyrod Taylor is going to more than likely start for Cleveland next year, which will allow Josh Allen to sit on the bench and, take it all in and learn for the first year. Of course, when he does get to start, he's going to have some playmakers around him this year, which is a little new for the Browns. Number 2, they've got the Giants taking Sam Darnold, USC's quarterback. Of course, they got to be looking for Eli Manning's replacement at this point, so that's why I think they'll take him there. And I think also the Giants are a team that don't expect to be in the top 5 very often. So when they get there, I think they're going to try to take advantage of it and grab a quarterback. At number 3 for the Jets, I've got another quarterback. I'm like you, I've got Baker Mayfield going there. Of course, this was traded up from the Colts pick that had 6. I think that Baker Mayfield could excel because they've got a new offensive coordinator. His name's Jeremy Bates, and his scheme is just throw it down the field and zip it in there, and that's right up Baker Mayfield's alley. I'm like you guys. I've got Cleveland taking Bradley Chubb with the 4th pick. And then the Denver Broncos, I've got another quarterback, UCLA's guy under center, Josh Rosen. He's got terrific mechanics, actually completed 63% of his passes last season. Now, I know Casey Keenum's there on a 2-year deal, but I think this is a scenario, just like I mentioned with Josh Allen, where he'll be able to sit, watch, see what happens. And I think Case Keenum will be a good quarterback to learn under.
And even with this pick with the Cleveland Browns, with the 4th pick with Bradley Chubb from North Carolina State, he can come in, him and Myles Garrett can pretty much form a nice tandem for years to come.
Absolutely.
And I think even if Cleveland if they get Saquon Barkley or go for a quarterback like Russell said, it comes to a scenario where you got to build now.
Right.
Because you already did what you had to do in free agency. Now it's time for build for the draft.
Right. Now, I would be the first one to tell you that I think Saquon Barkley is the best player in this draft.
Yes.
However, drafting for need, that's why I've got 4 out of 5 being quarterbacks. Now, as I also mentioned, the Redskins are picking at 13. Now, I threw a Bama guy out there, defensive tackle Daron Payne. I'm sure you remember him, Russell. Actually, you're a Bama fan too, aren't you?
Yes, sir.
He's
All the way.
6'3", 310 pounds. He is the definition. If you look up run stuffer in the dictionary, you'll see Daron Payne. I think he'll be a starter from day one for the Redskins.
Yeah, he will.
As far as the Cowboys, they're going to be in need for a wide receiver, and we'll get into that here in just a moment. But because of that, I've got them taking another Crimson Tide player in Calvin Ridley to replace Dez Bryant. Calvin's very explosive off the line of scrimmage. And I think we'll, maybe not replace Dez Bryant wholeheartedly, but at least can, get him some yards. And then for the Panthers, I know that they're kind of thin at offensive line at wide receiver as well, but I've actually seen them as have even more lack of depth at the cornerback position. So I've got them taking University of Central Florida cornerback Mike Hughes. So just some names I threw out there. Of course, everything could change because as we see during draft night, there's a lot of trades that happen, a lot of things that we don't even know could occur and completely turn this thing upside down.
Yes.
Now, as I mentioned just a second ago, Dez Bryant was released by the Dallas Cowboys this past Friday. Now, word on the street is that he wasn't getting along with some of his teammates who are more loyal, if you will, to Coach Jason Garrett. And just a couple of the names that have arisen out of this is linebacker Sean Lee and Cowboys tight end Jason Witten, 2 veterans on the team. Of course, Bryant's a 3-time Pro Bowler, so in the long run, does this hurt the Cowboys?
I think it will hurt the Cowboys at the wide receiver position because that's going to hurt Prescott to find who he can throw it to because you already got Terrence Williams there, you got Jason Witten there, and it's going to coming to a scenario where Cowboys going to have to start drafting wide receivers in order to get playmakers out there so he can throw it to because you get Ezekiel Elliott out there, but at the same time, hey,
you need a number one.
You need a number one guy.
So speaking of that, he led them in receiving yards and touchdowns last year. So I ask you, Russell, does this hurt him in the long run?
Very much. I think it's a huge mistake to have him go. I'm not sure what was all going on back in the back, but obviously he wasn't happy, and then they weren't happy. So even if he stayed, it probably wouldn't have worked out too well anyway. So
yeah, it could have been some bad blood, if you will.
Yeah.
And I'm sure money probably played into this because I'm sure Dez wants to get paid number one receiver money, and obviously the Cowboys and Jerry Jones didn't want to pay that. And so as we say all the time in the NFL, they'll cut you in a second. They have no qualms about doing that. Now, Dez is going to be looking for a new home. So real quick, Jeremy, where's he end up?
I believe it's going to be boiled down to is Baltimore Ravens.
All right, yeah, they could absolutely use a wide receiver.
Yeah, because you need because I just read on the radio today with Eric Weddle, who's a safety for the Ravens. He's recruiting Dez Bryant to come around and join the Ravens so they can give Joe Flacco a go-to guy.
Yeah, and there's a lot of players trying to get him to come to their team, but where do you think that'll be?
Well, I think the number one wide receiver needs to be with the number one quarterback, and that is Tom Brady and the Patriots. So I think he's going to end up there, and that would be huge for them to continue their dominance in the playoffs.
And, of course, they traded Brandon Cooks, so they're in the need for a top wide receiver. Mm-hmm. And, I would not put it past Belichick to pull something like this on draft day.
Yeah.
And package maybe some draft picks in there or maybe I don't know if the Cowboys could take back Dez's rights at this point. Can they do that and trade him, or is he just already released?
I think, by him being released, that all his money is off the books. It's dead.
So they wouldn't even have to trade for him. They could just sign him.
Well, sign him. He's unrestricted free agent.
I can absolutely see that happening. Now, great segue here because I want to bring up Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, of course, the Hall of Fame quarterback and probably Hall of Fame tight end for the New England Patriots. Now, they're not participating in off-season workouts, which is not that big a deal, especially for Brady, who's 41. But because Brady is actually 40, but because Brady will be 41 in August, Brady has yet to commit to playing in 2018. What does this mean, Jeremy?
I think it means to not only for New England and the fans of at 41 years old, Tom Brady really got nothing left to prove.
You're right.
So he has that give it right. If he don't want to participate, that's on him. But when it comes to if he decides to play in 2018 or he's going to decide to hang up his cleats, you're gonna give the fact that it's gonna show that you're not, pretty much you don't want to come to the gym, come be part of your team and, live with your team and try to at least be a mentor in the locker room for these younger guys. But it's really not hurting the Patriots right now, but it's hurting him as a player.
Yeah, but let me ask you this, Russell. I mean, how long do you think he can hold out before people are like, all right, make a decision,
Well, I think that if he was actually going to leave, I'm sure that him and Belichick have been speaking very closely, and if he's for sure going to leave, he probably already said it prior to the end of the year. I think he would do it mid-season. I think he's going to be staying around. Otherwise, you see the Patriots making a lot of moves to get another quarterback in place.
Which we could very well see them drafting a quarterback come the draft. Now, Rob Gronkowski thought about retirement himself after last year, and apparently he's still mulling retirement. So I want to throw a doomsday scenario at you guys. Let's say Brady hangs it up, Gronk hangs it up. Does that end the Patriots' reign?
For a few years, I would think.
Yeah, about 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
but we're talking about Bill Belichick still being there. I think we'll see something within
but
the next 5 years.
Just like the question is, Brady's gone, Rob Gronkowski gone. Can Coach Belichick be leaving too?
That's what I was just getting ready to say. If I'm Belichick, I'm hightailing it out of there. If Brady leaves and Gronk leaves in that fashion.
If your big three of the New England Patriots all them leave right now, that pretty much tells you that is the dynasty of the New England Patriots for almost 17 years.
And it just goes to show you how important Tom Brady is to the Patriots. Because, just right here, we just said I don't know that they, tank or anything, but I don't think they win 13 or 14 games. I think at that point, depending on who the quarterback
they probably
is.
won't get any Super Bowls.
No, I think they'd miss out on the playoffs, to be honest with you. So, of course, the Patriots may have to look at drafting a quarterback sooner rather than later, especially after letting Jimmy Garoppolo go out to San Francisco. Another tight end that could potentially be retiring right here in the Carolinas is the Panthers tight end Greg Olsen. Now, he's wanting an extension and says that if he doesn't get it, he'll retire and go take a TV gig. Is this selfish, or has he put in his time?
I think by me being a loyal Panthers fan, I think with Greg Olsen, who is the first NFL tight end in history to have 3 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons, it's going to come down to Ron Rivera and GM Marty Herney. They probably going to get together and sit down like, let's do this. Let's go pay this man his money because he's worth the money. He just had a down year last season due to an injured foot. But when he's healthy, probably the top 3 tight ends in the league. That's something he can do after he's done with his electoral Hall of Fame career. But as of right now, he's very important to our offense, even to Cam's security blanket on third downs or get you 10 yards or even red zone. Pay the man his money and keep it moving.
What do you think, Russell? Should they pay him, or should Greg not even worry about it and go, join the guys in the booth?
Well, I think after having that foot injury, he's probably really debating on going into that TV booth because that could get into his mind thinking that could happen again. And what's going to happen when he does that and then the Panthers just cut him?
Yeah.
So he probably going to want to take money and just go ahead and go and probably just go sit in the TV booth. That might be the best bet for him.
And in my opinion, it's going to come down to what kind of legacy does he want to leave, because obviously he's going to make decent amount of money to go announce games and do commentary for it and not have to worry about getting tackled or getting injured that way. So I absolutely believe that has to play a little bit in your mind.
And if he works with a station that will do Carolina Panthers sports, then I think that will work out.
Actually, what it would be for, reportedly, is to take John Gruden's spot on Monday Night Football. So that's a big-time gig, you know, and it's a high-paying gig, too. So, to me, that's something that he'd seriously have to weigh, don't you think?
Yeah, because you're looking at Greg Olsen. He's probably about the second best tight end in Panther history behind Wesley Walls.
Yeah. I'd probably put him
ahead. I would say as taking that spot there, I think he should go something with the Panthers specifically as TV or radio or whatever. I think it should be specific with that to show that he is still loyal to the fans.
Which I'm sure they'd welcome him with open arms and that too, but they'd probably rather see him finish out his career as far as Panther fans.
Yeah, because you're right. Because see, right now, if you look at the Panthers TV, you already got 2 former Panthers already doing commentary, Muhsin Muhammad and Mike Rucker. So it comes down to, like I say, let's just pretty much pay Greg Olsen his money, give him a 2-3 year contract extension, and let's see let him finish play his last few years in Carolina, leave his legacy. You can go do what you want to do after you retire.
You heard it here, Marty Herney. Jeremy says pay the man, so hopefully they'll do that, and he'll stay the tight end. And then finally, do want to let everyone know that tonight after our show is over at 8 p.m., the NFL schedule for the upcoming season will be released. So, of course, that's something we'll get into next week, see what the matchups are, maybe make a way too early prediction on who we think will end up winning the Super Bowl. But we're going to take our next commercial break, and when we come back, Russell and I are going to be talking NASCAR. Actually, Russell will probably be talking more NASCAR than me. And then we're also going to be talking about a few college football spring games that took place this past weekend. All that and more when we come right back from the RO Sports Show, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics.
McNair Auto Sales is the place to buy your pre-owned car, truck, or van. To be the best, it takes big selection, friendly staff, and great pricing. We guarantee a no-hassle buying experience, and financing is available right on site. So come see us today. We're located at 1026 East Broad Avenue in Rockingham. And remember, with over 40 years of experience, you know McNair is the name you can trust.
Family Pharmacy is a local pharmacy that's been in business in Rockingham for over 10 years. Located in the Food Lion Shopping Center on US 1 North, we have easy access into the store and a drive-thru for your convenience as well. You can download the official Family Pharmacy app at myfamilypharmacy.com, and we'll help you set it up to text you when your prescription is ready, and you can even set it up to fill your prescriptions when due. Our motto is we'll treat you like family, and it's something we truly mean. We take the same care in filling your prescription that we would take for our own family. Family Pharmacy, we'll treat you like family.
My face is so naked.
I had never shaved all of this off until...
Dude, you can grow a monster beard, man. Why don't you do that?
I hate it.
Or have you?
I hate facial hair. Yeah, I'm nervous.
Willow Tree Antiques and Gifts is all about rustic home decor and gifts. You will always find a variety of unique antiques, vintage, and new items in our shop. Come and see our selection of housewarming, new baby, and wedding gifts. For the man in your life, we have many collectibles, Boker knives, and leather. And ladies love the jewelry, purses, candles, hats, and t-shirts. We also offer a 30-day layaway program. Come and experience shopping at Willow Tree Antiques and Gifts.
Hello, I'm Tammy Benson, and this is Nancy Bowling. And we're here to tell you about the wonderful service at hospice and what they have to bring, from the nursing services to the medical director, to in-home aides, to a chaplain, to bereavement, to everything you can imagine. They were there to take care of it.
I cannot think of how the experience with hospice could have been any better professionally, spiritually.
And welcome back to the RO Sports Show, of course, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. And it's time to hit the track, Russell. So NASCAR this past week, weekend/Monday, we're at Bristol Motor Speedway. So who'd you have and who won?
Well, I had Kyle Busch winning it. I thought he was going to do it in a dominant fashion, but he did win the race, but he worked very hard to get up there to win that. Kyle Larson gave him a run for his money this past Sunday/Monday. He had a great race on Sunday when they raced a few laps there. They got somewhere in between the second stage, and they had to postpone it there. They go on into Monday, and of course, he had some contact with the wall with another driver, and he wasn't able to finish the race. And Kyle Busch came in and he ended up winning the race.
And fortunately, it wasn't snow this time, right?
No, no snow.
That knocked him out.
But this is the second Monday race we've had this season. So
yeah, already.
Yeah.
Now, moving on, going to Richmond, correct? This next weekend. So, first of all, what's the official name of that track?
I believe it is Richmond International Raceway. Actually, I think they changed it, but I know it's Richmond Raceway, I think is what it's called now. Okay. They recently changed that name. But yeah, Richmond Raceway.
All right, so again, put you on the spot. Who you got winning this one?
I'm kind of in a toss-up. If Matt Kenseth was still racing, I would pick him to win this, but he's not. So I will have to say either Kyle Larson or Brad Keselowski to pull this one off, because those two have seemed like they got this track figured out. Joel Logano could be a good play in it as well. But you gotta watch out for the Toyota drivers with Joe Gibbs Racing. They've got a good team this year, especially with Kyle Busch. Dean Hamlin's getting his way up there. Maybe Ricky Stenhouse Jr. could pull it off. Of course, he had his best finish all season. He finished 4th in Bristol. He might have something going here for the short tracks.
So, but if you had to take one, you're taking.
I'm gonna go Brad Keselowski.
Gonna take Keselowski. All right, you heard it here first. So, and you've usually been usually right on the money for a lot of these. So, hopefully you'll be able to keep that up. Now, some exciting news regarding the 2019 Cup season. Ford has announced they're going to be switching to the Mustang.
Yeah. So this is the first time the Mustang has ever came into the Cup Series. I think this is kind of coming off of when Chevrolet had unveiled the Camaro for this season.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'm glad they did, because I was hoping they would. And putting the Mustang in there is going to be huge for NASCAR as a whole, because this is Ford's top brand vehicle versus Chevrolet's top brand vehicle. And maybe Toyota might do something. I don't know. I don't think they got any muscle cars, so they couldn't do that.
No. Now, Ford already has a car on the track, right?
Right. They got the Ford Fusion.
That's the Fusion. Okay. I was wondering what that was.
And they've had the Taurus in the beforehand. I think the Thunderbird as well. They've had a variant of them before. And Chevrolet had the... I forgot what they had. I think Monte Carlo beforehand.
Right, yeah.
And, of course, Toyota's always had the Camry.
Now,
But they've been making modifications to it as we've gone along.
I wonder why, and I'll get your opinion, it took them this long to switch to the Mustang, because in my opinion, I hear Ford Taurus, Ford Mustang, I'm taking Mustang on the racetrack, right?
Yeah. And see, if they do it in the Xfinity series, they've always had Mustang and Camaro down there. And now they finally get them up here in 2018, 2019. It's just like... Took you long enough.
Yeah. Now, no matter what they're driving, everybody's got a pit. And according to you, there's been some issues with some of the equipment, right?
Yeah. So NASCAR this season has decided to mandate that all teams use the same model pit guns, same manufacturer, same everything on it. The problem is that the pit guns have been inconsistent on their RPM. Some of them are going higher, some of them going lower. And when they do that, it causes a loose wheel. And if they're caught at the end of the race with a loose wheel, they can have a violation put on them.
Mm-hmm.
One driver, Denny Hamlin, has came forward about this just the past week at Bristol, where he's had this issue. And it's just a lot of other drivers before him has came out and said this. Joe Gibbs Racing is probably the best when it comes to having these pit guns. They've offered NASCAR to put theirs out there for everybody to use. And I think that'd be a great idea to solve that issue. Because the ones that NASCAR has is clearly not working.
Yeah, apparently not with all these messing up. And it seems like more and more drivers are coming out and saying, like, something needs to be done about this.
And it could cost somebody a championship or a round in the playoffs later on this season. And when somebody looks at it, they're going to say that's NASCAR's fault.
Could it potentially cause someone to wreck?
It could, yeah, very well could cause somebody to wreck. Loose wheels happen quite often, and
right.
Of course, it's a safety violation if you get caught with a loose wheel.
Right. And then some other exciting news having to do with the All-Star race, which is, of course, held right here in North Carolina in Charlotte. So what's the big news with this?
So this May, they're usually at the All-Star race, they always change up the format. There's always something new going on. Keep it fresh, keep it going. Of course, this is a non-points race, so it doesn't hurt anything for the regular season. It's just records or checkers. The winner gets $1 million. This season, they've actually announced that they're going to use a restrictor plate at Charlotte, which has never been done before at any 1.5 mile track. And I think that the reason why they did this is because people are kind of saying they're not enjoying the 1.5 mile tracks. They like the short tracks and they like the plate tracks already, which is Talladega and Daytona. So I think when they announced the restrictor plates, now the restrictor plates, they're going to slow the cars down.
Okay, I was going to ask you, for people like myself that don't know the terminology, what exactly does that mean for a car?
So back in the day, drivers can go way over 200 miles per hour, and that was deadly speeds because drivers had been seriously injured. I think even a death has occurred because of how fast they've gone. So at Talladega and Daytona, where they can get that high, they've restricted the car to go just about 200, maybe a little bit more if they're drafting, which is pack racing when they're all tight together. Now at Charlotte, they don't usually do stuff like that, but with the restrictor plate, they're going to slow them down, and they're going to try and recreate that type of racing that you see at Daytona and Talladega, where they're always together and making for close finishes. Close action all around, all race.
That sounds like a good idea because, especially here in the Carolinas, rubbing is racing, and that's kind of what people can anticipate, right?
Right.
Very cool.
And everybody loves the All-Star race. Of course, they'll have 4 stages in this one, which is where the stage racing has came from that you've seen implemented this past year. They'll have 4 stages. The first one is going to be a 30-lap shootout, 20 laps for the next 3, and then 10 laps for the final one. There's going to be no mandatory pit strategy like they've had in the past few years, so you don't have to pit on the last lap or anything like that. And there's different ways that you can get into this race, of course. There's the open race that they're going to have before that. The winners from those 3 stages, they're going to get into it. There's also a fan vote, which everybody loves to fan vote. I think Danica Patrick got in once on the fan vote on her first year, yeah.
So a lot of festivities going on for that. So,
that's happening this May.
Absolutely, and I'm sure a lot of people from Rockingham go to that race as well. I know a lot of people that end up.
I've been to one. It was my first. Well, I won't say it was my first, but it was my first NASCAR race at Charlotte. And Jimmy Johnson won that one, beat Joe Logano, who was coming from behind. I was so mad.
Yeah, I bet you were. But again, next week going to be in Richmond, so we'll see if Keselowski's going to be the man there. Now, moving from the asphalt to the gridiron, we're going to talk some college football spring games. Of course, some of the big-time programs had their games this past weekend on Saturday. So I want to start here in the ACC. Florida State unveiled a brand-new up-tempo offense under their new head coach, Willie Taggart, who, of course, came over from the University of Oregon. They actually ran 85 plays in the first half alone and 125 overall. But 85 plays, that's getting it done right there. Now, of course, the Seminoles had a down year last year. Played Bama in the first game.
That's an understatement, by the way.
Yeah. Francois, their starting quarterback, got hurt, and it seemed kind of like after that, even though with all the talent Florida State has, they just took a nosedive and spiraled down. But Francois is back. They got this new offense. Are they going to be a contender now in the ACC again?
I think that they could definitely be a threat to their division. Probably not ACC champion, certainly not national champion, but I think that they can definitely get back up there. I think it's going to take a little bit for them to figure out what they can do, especially coming off of what happened last year, but I think they can build it up and have a solid team in 2 years.
And, of course, Clemson still on that side of the division, too, and that's going to be the team they'll have to get by. And we're going to talk about Clemson here in just a moment. But Jimbo Fisher, of course, was at Florida State, is now at Texas A&M, and they actually had a record turnout for their spring game on Saturday. Of course, the record crowd was 48,129 people, which is a big crowd for a spring game.
Yeah.
It's pretty much 3,000 more than the previous, about 45,000 during Johnny Manziel's sophomore year. Obviously, this is good news for those that were wondering how Jimbo would, take over the A&M program. This was the first glimpse of that. Is A&M back?
Oh, I know the fans are certainly going around Jimbo and supporting him and this Aggie team that they're going to have this coming up year. I don't think they're going to have that great of a season. They've been since they've been in the SEC, they've been kind of floating around as a team. They've become threats to the powerhouses like Alabama and LSU and Auburn, but I don't think that they're really there still. It's going to take them a little bit, and I hope it doesn't hurt. I think Jimbo's a great coach, and I hope that they don't try and say, well, you did terrible this first season, so you're out. I don't want to be a one-and-done season. I think they should give him 4 years to get something going, and I think he could actually do that.
So you still see Alabama rolling over A&M for the next foreseeable future. Okay. Now, as I mentioned, we're talking about Clemson. Dabo Swinney, their head coach, is backing their starting quarterback from last year, Kelly Bryant, despite a so-so spring game that he had. Dabo's already come out and said he's still number one on the depth chart, but Bryant was 8 for 15 for only 35 yards this past Saturday. Now, the reason I bring this up is the number one quarterback recruit in the country is freshman Trevor Lawrence, and he came in and replaced Bryant and went 11 for 16 with 122 yards and a 50-yard touchdown pass. Does Bryant have something to worry about?
Well, you got to think, this is a spring game where they're playing each other, not playing their team. So if they're going to have some fun out there when they're doing this, they're going to try and figure things out. They're not playing to beat another team for a playoff bid or something like that. So I don't think this is going to really reflect much, if anything, other than just having a great time with their fans and maybe learn a few things in that type of environment.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes when the regular season comes around. But I think Bryant's going to stay there.
I agree. I think right now, Dabo said he's number one on the depth chart. I don't think he'd say that if he didn't mean it.
Right.
I will say this, though. If Bryant continues to struggle and Lawrence continues to be the number one recruit that he was, I could eventually see Lawrence taking over under center,
certainly.
maybe even during the regular season coming up. Now, another program that's had a little bit of some quarterback controversy is your Alabama Crimson Tide. Of course, quarterback Tua Tagovailoa has injured his hand and might not be able to play in their spring game on Saturday. First question for you, does that even matter?
No, I think he'll be okay. But I think it's going to be a great season for Alabama. They always have a great turnout for their spring game. It's always huge, and unlike Auburn, who nobody show up. But.
Now, of course, he's been battling incumbent Jalen Hurts for that starting quarterback position. But as we know, Tua came in the second half of the national championship. Second and 26 through 3 touchdowns, including the game winner in OT. And that's the only reason that we're talking about this is there is a little bit of some controversy here. But who do you think starts? Tagovailoa, Hurts, both?
I think Hurts is going to start it off. I think Hurts is still in that leadership role. If he understands that he needs to step down and let Tua take over, he can do that. He's shown that in the championship game where it's high pressure, high emotion. He can do that, and I think that takes a great player and a great leader. And I think Jalen is going to be a great quarterback this year, and so will Tua. I think they might even interchange and keep their opponents on their toes a little bit on who they're going to play.
Yeah, I think Nick Saban may even use that as a tactic of saying, well, we may start Tua, we may start Jalen. Yeah. We're not going to tell you to the last minute. And, you know, I think they both offer different things, but the scenario I see here is kind of similar to what Dabo and Clemson's dealing with. If Hurts continues to, I don't want to say struggle, but not play as well, maybe he goes to Tua full-time. You never really know.
And it could very well happen, but I don't think it'll be a big issue for any player on the team, especially even Jalen, because he can understand that as a team player. That's something that Nick Saban's great at doing with these guys, is showing them how to play as a team, not as a single person.
Yeah.
So I think they can understand that.
And I feel like with Nick Saban there, they could probably go grab the water boy and throw him under center and win a national championship too. So, and then the last one here, as far as the spring games, a quarterback who's got some pretty big shoes to fill, and that is Kyler Murray, who's going to be replacing former quarterback Baker Mayfield at Oklahoma. So the simple question is that even possible?
Well, for a guy like Mayfield, I think it's going to be very tough for anybody to replace the Heisman Trophy winner. It's going to be very tough indeed. And now he's been able to see Mayfield from the back seat and see what he's been able to do. And
yeah, because he has been there for a year.
Yeah,
watching,
and maybe even understand that he can not do some of the things that Mayfield has done on the field, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So I think he'll be okay. Certainly not going to be a Mayfield, but he will be there, and he'll probably have some Mayfield in him.
Yeah, if I'm him, I'm maybe not trying to be Baker Mayfield. Yeah. Maybe I'm trying to blaze my own path, so to speak. I do know, I've read some research on him. He needs to become more consistent under center and needs to work on his accuracy. Of course, those are all things that you pick up with more experience and doing that in game time. But some of those incidents that Baker was part of, I think that actually helped him in the long run because his guys rallied around him. And I think that's something that Kyler needs to do, is become that alpha male, if you will, of the offense, to come in, take over, say, Baker was here, now he's gone, it's my turn to do it. So, you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that's a valid argument there.
Yeah, I think he has to take that tenacity and just run with it, basically. Yeah. Because Oklahoma's going to be one of the top teams in the nation.
Oh, yeah.
I think
they're not going to lay down after one loss in the playoffs.
No, and with that offense, again, you could almost just kind of just put whoever you want in there.
I think they'll flatten the Big Ten.
Yeah, and they'll be fine. So that's going to do it for college football and NASCAR this week. When we come back, we're going to do our Big Impact of the Week presented by Richmond Community College. And, of course, love it or hate it. All that and more when we come right back from the RO Sports Show, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. And welcome back to the final segment of the RO Sports Show, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. And guys, as we always do, we're going to start with our Big Impacts of the Week, presented by Richmond Community College, whose motto is, of course, local college, big impact. So once again, Russell, we'll start with you. Who's your big impact of the week?
I've got Grayson Way from the Richmond area softball team. She has got her third no-hitter. It was against 71st High School. They defeated them 17-0. So they flattened them. Of course, no-hitter is pretty huge, but 3 of them in the season, that's even great.
That's pretty strong. Definitely a big impact. What about you, Jeremy? Who's your big impact of the week?
I'm going to say congratulations to Miami Heat legend and guard Dwayne Wade, who had passed Boston Celtics great Larry Bird for 10th place on the NBA all-time scoring list and a playoff win against Philly on the other night. Congratulations to you, and pretty much in all your endeavors, I'll see you in the Hall of Fame someday.
Yeah, anytime you pass Larry Bird, that's a big impact.
Yeah.
And my big impact of the week, I'm going to the diamond that the boys team plays on. Of course, Raider baseball. Trey Watkins, Cam Caraway, and Justin Ingram combined for the Raiders' third no-hitter this year. So Grayson Way's thrown 3. The Raiders have thrown 3. They also won 17-0 the same night that the softball team did. So pretty cool how that worked
got
out.
Raider magic going for them.
Absolutely. That's where the magic happens, is on the diamond for the boys and girls. So, of course, big impacts of the week presented by Richmond Community College. Moving on, our official Richmond County Athletes of the Week presented by McNair Auto Sales. Our female for this week is Tatum Hubbard, a junior center back on the Lady Raiders soccer team. And our male athlete of the week is Preston Coker, a junior on the Raider track and field team. So congratulations to them for being our official Richmond County Athletes of the Week this week, presented by McNair Auto Sales. And finally, guys, to wrap up this week's show, we're going to do always love it or hate it. We're going to start on the ice and talk about a little NHL. Now, the Las Vegas Golden Knights are an expansion team. This is their first year in the NHL. Typically, in other sports, in NHL as well, an expansion team is just terrible. They're never good because they have to pick from the litter, if you will, of all the other teams in the league, so they don't necessarily get the best players. However, the Golden Knights swept the LA Kings already in the first round of the NHL playoffs and are now the favorites to win the Stanley Cup in an expansion year.
Wow.
So, Jeremy, love it or hate it?
I love it because this is your first year playing hockey in the franchise, and if you want to continue doing your dominance, send a message out to say, hey, even though we are a new team first year, and we can win it all.
Yeah,
go for it.
No problem with that. What about you, Russell?
Yeah, I love it. That's awesome to see a team like that just come up from nothing and then make it into something big. Love it.
I'm going to say hate it, and I'll tell you why.
Why?
Just to be different, but
Get out of here.
But also, expansion teams are supposed to be terrible. You guys are disrupting the process of things here. It's one of those, the butterfly effect. For all we know, this has done something on the other side of the world, affecting time travel and the space-time continuum.
Lord have mercy.
Moving on, talking baseball. Chicago Cubs first baseman Anthony Rizzo has said that he would take a pay cut in order to play fewer baseball games. Now, MLB season is 162 games. It's a lot of games. I will give him that. And he was actually quoted as saying, we play too much baseball. So, Russell, let's start with you. Taking a pay cut to play fewer games. Love it or hate it?
I love it. I agree with that statement, too. I think that is way too long. I mean, it's a lot of games to play out of the season, and it's so long, too.
Yeah.
I love it because he's making a sacrifice for his team in order to play less baseball games because it's too long, and he don't want to risk an injury in the process. So I love it.
I'm going to say love it too because I also agree that they play too much baseball, and I can't believe I'm saying this because I'm like the baseball purist guy that doesn't want to change anything. I will say this though: good luck getting guys to take a pay cut because that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody like Rizzo who makes a lot of money, but some of these guys that are on the minimum contracts, which of course even in Major League Baseball is around $4 million, so nobody's really eating ramen noodles. But
right,
good luck getting guys to take a pay cut. But I still say love it. Now going into golf here, Kelly Craft hit a golf shot this past weekend. This is kind of a crazy story. The ball hits a bird. Fell in the water in front of the 14th green, which is a par 3, ended up costing him a double bogey at the RBC Heritage at Hilton Head. So he actually ended up one over and just barely missed the cut. So, Russell, love it or hate it, this rule about hitting birds.
I love this because, man, shame on you for hitting a bird, man. What is up with you on that one? You deserve to get cut.
What do you think, John?
I love it because you know what? It's kind of funny in the matter because that bird helped you out. It did.
I hate it just in the fact of, hitting a bird, I mean, that's like one of those statistical anomalies that, maybe they shouldn't count him off on that. But maybe give him a mulligan or something.
No, they did say that because of that, though, that it was because of it's a natural thing that happened. So it wasn't really a human hitting it. However, back when I think they were at TPC Sawgrass and there was the island hole number 17, somebody's ball got picked up by a bird and then dropped into the lake after it landed. I think that should be the same way in a sense.
And I can't remember how they ruled that one.
Well, they gave it back to where the ball had landed.
Right, and it's funny because I've also seen where an alligator was involved. Now the alligator didn't eat the ball, but if I hit my ball near some kind of wildlife, especially a gator, you can just give me the bogey. I'm not going over there and finding it.
Oh, dude.
Now, moving on to high school football. Alabama high school football games are going to be featuring instant replay review in the upcoming 2018 season. Now, Alabama is going to be the first state to utilize this for not just postseason games, but for all regular season games. Personally, I think this is going to be a nightmare on the high school level, so I'm going to start off here and say I hate it. Because you have to consider how many teams play football in the state of Alabama alone, how many of them have access to instant replay, or how many have access to big screen TVs, like Scotland County has one, the Fighting Scots. Richmond does not. So that's why I'm going to say hate it, because I'm not sure the logistics of that. What do you think?
I think I go on the record and say hate it because you know why? Like you said, is people's not going to have access to it at the same time, and then at the same time, it's going to come a time where other 49 states going to end up wanting to do the same thing, and then it's going to send a message not only to, it's going to send a message out to the nation, and then it could become where the Athletic Association of these states is going to pretty much going to have put something in play where they can pass this law saying, hey, let's do this.
And spend a lot of money in the process. What do you think?
I was going to say love it until y'all brought up the part about having to use money to get these video boards.
Right.
So I'm going to say hey as well because at the high school level, I don't think it's that serious.
In
Getting
theory,
to college and NFL, definitely, but high school, I think they could spend that money a little bit somewhere else other than a video board.
I think in theory it's a good idea and it sounds good on paper, but I just don't think in the long run it's something that'll be financially feasible.
If anything, only let the people who are doing the viewing see it. You don't really need a video board to see it.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
And
but
then,
it still costs money to get those people out there to do that. They record it, film it, all that.
And at the same time, like if it come a challenge a play can be challenged, then really looked at you really don't need that video board. You could look like in the NFL, like a referee can go look inside that little.
Right, but that still has to be coming from a central location.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of setting all that up and figuring out who's going to do that. So. Again, the logistics of it are crazy.
Yes.
But this will kind of be a test run. We'll see. We all may be completely wrong. And
of course, this is the Alabama where they make a lot of money on football. So
it
should be okay.
I was going to say because high school and Crimson Tide is their NFL basically down there. And then finally, for this week's Love It or Hate It, Safeco Field, which is the home of the Seattle Mariners baseball team, for the second year in a row, is serving fried grasshoppers on the menu. So, Jeremy, love it or hate it?
I hate it. It's nasty.
All right.
I'm disgusted by that. I'm going to say hate it, too.
I'm going to say love it. I would never eat it, but I think it's these quirky little things that ballparks do, come up with these crazy menu items that get people in the stadium and make them want to try new things. And I'm always about trying new things.
I feel like that would repel me away.
Yeah.
Never be a Mariners fan now.
Yeah,
but I got to tell you, there's also some other stadiums that have some other different menu items as well. Of course, I don't know that insects are on anybody else's menu. But that's going to do it for this week's edition of the RO Sports Show. I do want to remind people again, the Sand Hills Wrestling Alliance is going to be, they had their comeback show this past week. Russell and myself are going to be doing commentary for that at 8 p.m. on Saturday. Of course, you can find that, just like the RO Sports Show, on the Richmond Observer's YouTube page, the RO Facebook page, richmondobserver.com, the RO app, and you can listen to all of it on The Classic Rock Radio. And, of course, it's all free, so it doesn't get any better than that. For Jeremy McKenzie, Russell Parker, I'm Matt Harrelson. We'll see you right back here again next week, 5:30, for the RO Sports Show, brought to you by First Health Orthopedics. Have a great night.